I can't quite fully grasp with both hands either side of this cultural identity. My name is Laura Yilmaz. Well, I'm an art director and an animator and an animation director. I am originally from the US, Boston. My background is that my father is from Turkey. He was an immigrant to America. And I had this kind of semi-first generation experience, I would say, growing up in America. I grew up in a very white Irish Catholic place. I always felt very different and very outside of the prevailing context. I felt like this kind of swarthy little weirdo in this sea of blonde faces.
You see, it was almost exactly like the intro in My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah, exactly. Like, watching that film, I remember feeling very, there was a lot of familiarity with that experience. You grow up thinking that you are of a particular culture, in my case, Turkish. And as you grow up, you realize, actually, you're not really part of that culture either. And there's a little bit of a displacement and a feeling that you're living in this kind of liminal space. There was a different language being spoken in my house. There was different food being cooked and eaten. When I was about 5 years old, my grandmother came over from Turkey to live with us and help take care of us as my mother transitioned back into work. My grandmother was a very Turkish village woman and presented as such. And it was quite a shock, I think, to a lot of the other neighborhood kids. I remember being on the school bus, pulling up to my house, and just having this feeling of dread as my poor, wonderful grandmother would come out of the house to meet me, with her headscarf and her skirts and all these things. And I could see the way the other kids looked at her. Looking back on it, I wish I had had a stronger voice at that point. I mean, they would openly make comments to me about her and about myself. I always withered under that. I come from screen-based animation, linear screen-based animation, but in more recent years, I've been moving into games, both in my personal work and professionally. The most recent project that I have been working on, it started as quite a biographical piece. It was pulled very much from the experience of my own grandmother. She was married at a very young age. She was about 15 when she got married to a man who was almost 40. She was his second wife. She was, as women in this context around the world are, she was a mother and she was a housewife, and she was seen and treated as less than for her whole life. I would think I was very interested in trying to bring this sort of narrative into the space of video games, which are a medium that I grew up with, but I often feel like didn't really grow up with me. The way narrative operates in the game space and in the interactive space is very, very different. And it carries an enormous set of new challenges in trying to figure that out.